Hi, welcome to the Canvas Basics Part 1 workshop. I will be going over Canvas today. In Part 1, we're going to cover the dashboard and all of the elements you see in the dashboard, the global navigation, and also the basics of a course homepage. Canvas Basics Part 2 will cover elements inside a course, such as how to create a page, assignment, discussion, or quiz, and some other aspects of the Canvas course interface. So for part 1, let's talk about the dashboard. That is what you see in front of you. Whenever you log into Canvas on a laptop, you will land on the dashboard. And the dashboard, there are 3 different views, but the default view is the card view, and this is what you see here. You see published courses that you have. If I scroll down, there's a section of unpublished courses. So if you're still working on a course, it's likely unpublished. And then once you decide to publish it, it comes up to the top. And each course has its own card with either a color or an image or graphic if you have chosen one. And I'll show you how to do that a little later. You can customize a lot of aspects of the dashboard. And I'm going to talk about what you can do with cards in just a moment. On the right, you'll see some other elements. First of all, a to-do list. Now, the to-do list for an instructor is all of the things you have to do, such as grade, whatever assignments. And you can see there's a list of to-do items here in my list. If I scroll down, there's coming up. This assignment is going to be due soon, so be prepared to grade it. And then recent feedback and a chance to view grades. For a student, the to-do item is going to be for them what's coming up that's due. So they're going to have to complete the assignment. And of course, their coming up section is here's what's coming up next week. And their feedback will be instructor feedback. And of course, they can view their grades. So everybody's got a to-do list and a coming up list, etc. On the left, in this navy blue bar here, navy blue column, is the global navigation. And Canvas global navigation includes a bunch of elements of areas where you can navigate to beyond the courses. You'll see here the account area, which we'll get to a little later. I'm on the dashboard, so that is highlighted. There's also a courses area, which we'll go to, groups if you have it. There's a Canvas calendar, which I'll talk about briefly. There's the Canvas inbox, which is also called Canvas conversations, and that's your email within Canvas. You can email individual students, you can email courses, etc. There's a history button. Sometimes if you want to go back and see an earlier version of something, you can go into the history and see if it's there. Canvas Studio is the video recording and viewing software that Canvas has integrated for SRJC. And then the Canvas Commons, which is where you can share out things to the wider Canvas community, and that can be the SRJC Canvas community or beyond. There's also a help button. Before I get to the other elements of the global navigation, let me go back into the center part of the dashboard, the cards, and I want to show you how the cards work. So here's a card, and you can see that this card has an image. You'll change the image inside the course under settings. We will do that a little later. But I want to show you all of the things I can do. And I'm actually going to go here to this color, Distance Ed OSE colored course. And there's a little drop-down menu here under the 3 vertical dots. So if I click on that, I can change the color. So what if I don't want this red? Instead, I want a blue. If I do that, I can click apply, and look at that. It's changed to blue, as have the words. I can also choose my own color. If you have a hex code for a specific color you like, you can paste it in there and it will give you that color. In addition, you can see this is called Distance Ed OSE, etc., etc. If I just want to call this something different, like my course, I can change the name there. And let me go ahead and change the name of a course that's just mine. So right here, it says Gina's Main Sandbox. Well, if I want to call it something else, like maybe I just want to call it Gina's Sandbox, get rid of the word main. In that little nickname area, click apply, and look at that. It changed to Gina's Sandbox. So that's really helpful for you to sort of customize and change things. Also in the flyout menu, in addition to changing the color and the nickname, there's another tab here. It says move. And I can actually move things. So this card here, I can move it down. And you can see it moves 1. I can move it to the bottom if I wish, and it'll go to the bottom, or I can move it to the top. In addition, I can unfavorite it. Now, favorites are a way for Canvas to know what you want to see on your dashboard. So if you don't want to see something on your dashboard, you can simply unfavorite it and it will go away. So if I want to unfavorite something, for example, this course right here, I can go to Move and I can click Unfavorite. And it asks me if I'm sure. I say yes, and you can look at that. It goes off my dashboard. What if I say, oh no, I didn't want to do that? Well, if I click in the global navigation on courses, you'll see this flyout menu. Initially, you're going to see all your published courses here. So that corresponds to all of the cards I see. And then these unpublished courses correspond to the cards here in my unpublished area. For courses not on the dashboard, I go down to the bottom here and I click on all courses. And now I see all the courses that I am a part of, either as a teacher or a student or some other role. Anything where the star is filled in with orange, those are on my dashboard. Those are favorited. Anything where the star is empty and just a black border, that is not on my dashboard. So this is how you can sort of in bulk decide what you want on your dashboard and off. So if I wanted to get that course back, I'm going to look at unpublished courses, and it'll let me show you at the top here. The course name, if it has a nickname, it'll be there. The term, if there's a term, how you're enrolled, teacher, student, etc., and whether or not the course is published. So for the unpublished courses that I wanted to find out about, that right here, this is the one that I unfavorited. So if I click on that and fill it in with orange and go back to my dashboard, you'll see that it will appear again. And there it is. So that's how you favorite and unfavorite things to customize your dashboard. Also on the dashboard, you're going to notice some icons at the bottom of the cards. There are icons that tell you whether or not there's an announcement. So this is the little announcement icon. And if there's a little number on it, that means that there is an announcement, a new announcement that you might want to look at. If there are assignments to be graded, you'll see the little assignment icon will have a little number by it, or new files uploaded. There'll be a little number in the corner. I don't think I have any examples of that on my dashboard at the moment. But you'll see it's, I believe, an orange circle with a number in it. Up at the top, if you don't want the card view, if you'd prefer a different dashboard view, up at the top here, there's another little vertical dot menu. And here's my drop down. Right now I'm in card view. You have a couple of different options. You have list view. And list view basically says, here's what's going on today. And for me, I don't really use list view because I have my to-do list. So I'm not list view, but it is organized by course. And so you can see that the different colors and the different course names, this will make it visually easy to find whatever you're looking for. And it's also newest on the bottom. So that can be a little bit disorienting at first. We're used to newest on the top. And if list view is not what you want, you could try recent activity. And recent activity will just show a stream of recent things that have happened. And again, I don't necessarily find that helpful. So I prefer the card view because I like the visual nature of it and the ease of finding my courses. Finally, one last thing about the cards is color overlay. Now, you can see right now, I can see the images clearly, but they do have a color assigned. So this Welcome to Canvas course is assigned the green color. If I chose color overlay, it will put a green sort of opacity mask over the image. And then I can have sort of this look. And again, it's just a look. It's up to you whether or not you like that. But I have put this look over now with the color overlay. So those are all of the things you can do with cards and how you can organize your courses. Now I'd like to go back to the global navigation and talk you through everything that's here. So we've talked about the dashboard. I'm going to come up to account later. And we've talked about courses. So I'm going to show you the calendar. So here's the Canvas calendar, and I don't have anything here to do right now, but if I did, it would be organized on my calendar by color code. Whatever color you chose for the course card is going to be the color that corresponds with the to-do items on your calendar. So if I had this distance education department green course, if I had to-do items here, they would appear in green on my calendar. For the Equity 2 Day, if I had any to-do items, they would appear in this reddish orange color here. So you can organize your calendar, and if there's a course I didn't want to see, just as with the favoriting and unfavoriting courses, I can actually unclick, check the boxes, and make the to-do items appear or disappear by filling in or unfilling the boxes by checking them. So you can decide whether or not you want to see things on the calendar by doing that. And if you don't see your course, you can drag down to see everything you've got. Up here, you can look at the calendar view by month. And so I can move to February and click on Valentine's Day, for example, to see if there's anything to do there. So I can view course by month. I can also change the month up here at the top left by scrolling left or right arrow. And if I want to get back to where I was, I click today and it brings me back to today. I can look at the calendar differently, just as you can look at any calendar. I can look at it by week. I can actually look at an agenda view, which will give me a list of to-do items. And right here with this plus sign, I can add events to my calendar. So if you want to add an event to your calendar, you click on that plus sign and you get this pop-out box. You can add an event, an assignment, which I prefer to do assignments through my courses, but you have the option to do it here. You can add a to-do item, or you can add an appointment group. And appointment groups might be helpful if you have office hours and you want students to sign up for a specific time slot. So I'll talk you through a little bit of these. First, event. Like, let's say you want students to attend a workshop. So I might put whatever the workshop is, and maybe the date is going to be the 27th of January, and the workshop's going to run from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And then I can put the location. For example, I can put the quad, and I can decide which calendar I want it on. So I can choose the course that I want the students to know about it. I'll just keep my name there for now. There's also a More Options button. If I click on More Options, they're going to give me more options. For example, I can add a description, I can put an address, etc., etc. So I can then create the event. And once I've created the event, I can go back to my calendar and we will see it there on my calendar. There it is, 1 p.m. workshop. So that's now on my calendar, and whichever calendar I chose, for example, if I chose this calendar, the students in that course would also see it. I can also create an assignment here. I'm not going to do that because I prefer to create assignments in courses, but if you did want to quickly create an assignment here, you give it a title, a due date, choose the course where it should live. If there's an assignment group you'd prefer to have it in, and then whether or not you want to publish it. And there's also more options here you can go through, and it'll take you to the full assignments page. If I wanted to give a to-do item for myself, for example, grade, then, and I want to get that done by Sunday the 29th at maybe 11:59 p.m. And I want it to, and it's going to be my calendar. I'll click submit and then look at that. It gives me my to-do item over there. Lastly, the appointment group. So if you wanted to create an appointment group for office hours, I might put office hours, put my office, and I might check, let's do for Canvas Basics and Distance Ed. Maybe those are the two that I want to do it. I'm not going to worry about that. And what if I want to have the office hours on, say, the 30th, and I want the range to be between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., and I want to divide the slots into 15-minute slots. Now, I have some other options here. I can limit only one user or two users can sign up per slot or not. You don't have to do that. I can allow students to see who's signed up for other slots. I can limit people to only signing up for one appointment so people don't hog all the times. And then I go back up here. So it says divide into equal slots of 15 minutes. I'm going to click go. And look at that. Once I click go, it divides them into 15-minute slots, which is fantastic. And once I click publish, I'm going to see, look at that. All of my little slots have appeared now on my calendar for that day. And students can go in from the courses that I chose, and they can sign up for a slot. So if you choose to use this calendar, those are some things you can do with it. Next, let's talk about the Canvas inbox, which is also called Canvas Conversations. And you can see here they use that terminology, no conversations selected. And it's very similar to the email you're used to. I'll point out some of the interesting features here. But first, you can see all of your messages are here. If they are red, you're going to see that the circle will be clear. If they are unread, the circle will be blue filled. And that is true throughout Canvas. You'll see that functionality for read and unread messages and discussion posts and announcements, etc. So those are all of my inboxes. I can choose a specific course to see. Like, what if I just wanted to see email from this particular course? What if I wanted to see my sent items? I can go here and I can click this drop down and I can go to sent or archived or unread. Just my unread messages are here, etc. So you can filter on the top left. On the top right, this is where I'm going to create a new message. I can also search. This is an address book here, this little icon. So I can click address book, or I can search. Let's go ahead and do all courses. So I have it open, and I can search my address book for anyone specific. To create a new message, right here at the top of this icon with the pencil and the square, I click that, and then I can actually select a course where I want the message to go. So I just want to email one course. I can choose that one course. And if I want to email a specific student, I click the address book, and I can do a lot of different things with this address book. So you should see here, you can email everybody, you can email only the teachers, and then if I had students enrolled, you would see the option for students. So I'll just choose teachers now because I don't have students, and then I can email all the teachers, or I can choose someone specific. So I'll say all teachers, and I'll say welcome, and then I can write my message. I can attach a piece of media or a file, and then I would click send. So that is how Canvas Conversations or the Canvas inbox works. Really, the great feature is you can filter and choose specific courses and specific students to send to inside the message composing area. History will just tell you, show you a history of items that you've been working on. It's not comprehensive, but there's a chance if you made a change and you want to go back to an earlier version, there's a chance it's here, so you can always look, but don't hold your breath. It may not be there. Canvas Studio, if you want to know more about Canvas Studio, we have workshops focused on it, but just know that it does exist, and you can record videos here, such as lectures, etc. You can also upload videos that are already in existence, and then assign them to a different course. You'll find Canvas Studio here in the global navigation, as well as in the course navigation for each of your courses. The Canvas Commons area is an area where you can interact with everybody across the globe who uses Canvas. So if I go to the Canvas Commons, I can search for items to use in my own courses, or I can share things that I have that may be helpful to other instructors. Also, when I land on the Commons, anything that's SRJC is going to appear. Look, there's something that's been updated that I am connected to. I'll go ahead and close that for now. But this is a great tool. So if I'm looking for a whole course, like, gosh, I've never taught this course before. I've never taught Intro to Journalism. So I'll type in journalism. And I'll see, oh, look, there's a full course on journalism. There is a module on First Amendment for student journalists. And you can see these little icons. That's the course icon. That's the module icon. Oh, look, there's a discussion. What's journalism and what's not journalism? Oh, my gosh, that's fantastic. Maybe I'll use that. This new assignment here, that's the assignment icon. Journaling. Here's another module, a welcome module, another assignment. So there are a lot of resources here that I could potentially use. So that's very exciting. Some of them won't be relevant. For example, you'll see when I type in journalism, I get a lot of journaling. Certainly those won't be useful to me, but a lot of the items will. So that's really exciting. What I will tell you here is there are some resources created by Santa Rosa JC's Distance Ed department called the Quick Start Guide. So if I go SRJC Quick Start here, if I type that into the search, I will find the Quick Start resources. And I want to point these out to you because these are things you can pull directly into your own courses that are pre-made that will be helpful to your students. A note of caution. Please do this before you've done anything else to your course, because if you import in the entire course, which is a bunch of different resources, it will delete everything else that you've done. You cannot pull a course over another course and have two courses coexist inside a Canvas course space. Only one course will survive. So if you decide to pull in the Quick Start bundle, which is this item right here, it says course, then do that while your sandbox is still empty, or while your course is still empty, and then you can build around it. You can also, so I'll click on the bundle first, but I do want you to notice you can just do the syllabus. Again, do that first because it's designated a course and therefore it will override everything else. You can just pull in a module. That's fine. If you just pull in a module, it will add it to your existing modules. So there's a getting started module, a week 1 template for you. There's a homepage template for you to customize. There's a student orientation module, feedback surveys module, and then of course all of it is in the Quick Start bundle. So if I click on the bundle, you can see that this is the preview of it. I can actually see the modules. Oh, wow. The Getting Started module has Canvas online readiness, meet their instructor template that I can customize, a course meet and greet discussion, Q&A. So that's nice. I don't have to create that myself. I can just use what the Distance Ed department has created. This orientation module, how cool. It's got some other discussions that students can do. The feedback surveys, I can put a mid-semester and an end-of-semester survey to check in with students, see how they're doing. There's that week 1 module. It gives you templates for an overview, for a content page, a discussion, an assignment quiz, and a summary. So you can use these to customize and build out your course. So those are great resources. You can check out the assignments. There's the assignment. Oh, these are all the pages that are inside those modules, etc., etc. So if I decide, yes, I want this, I can first of all add it to my favorites. So I can always just go to favorites and find it. I would click import/download. And once I do that, it's going to ask me a few questions and then import it into my chosen course. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to delete anything. I will show you that page. It asks me which course I want to import it in, and then you import it into the course. Again, I won't do that because I don't want to delete anything I currently have, but it's that simple. That's how you do it. And then, of course, the help area where you can find all kinds of resources. You can search the Canvas guides, which are fantastic. You can ask, how do I do this? How do I do that? There are videos. There are step-by-step infographics, all kinds of good things. You can see that students can ask you a question that will appear in your Canvas inbox. There's faculty support for Canvas. You can chat or call. Students can do the same. And you can see there's some Canvas help, the student help desk. Students can find out, can access tutoring, counseling, librarian, etc. So the Canvas help area is a wonderful resource. The last thing we're going to cover in the dashboard/global navigation area is your account area. Now, at the very top on the left, you will see an account area with either some sort of icon or your photo, depending on what you've put in there or what's been pulled from another area. And I specifically want to tell you about notifications and profile. Those are the two that I think are the most important to know. So profile is where you can add a new image. So I can actually hover over that, click edit, click the pencil. And if I do, it asks me, do you want to upload a new picture, take a picture, or choose a gravatar, which is just sort of an icon. And if I did that, it would change my photo. I can put contact information here. I can add a bio. To do that, I would go over to the top right, click edit profile, and you can see, look at that. I can add my bio. I can add any links I want students to know about. So that is your profile area. And then the notifications area. So notifications is basically you're telling Canvas how you want to be notified. And I encourage you to go over this with students as well. You will see, for me, I just have my email, but a student might have a second email or a mobile phone. And for each contact resource, there's going to be a column. So there could be one or multiple columns here. And you can decide due dates. If a due date change, notify me immediately. Grading policies have got notifications off. Now to change that, I click on the icon and look, I can choose notify immediately, get a daily summary, get a weekly summary, or turn notifications off. Those are your options. So you can see I've got various features, various options chosen for each of these things. If there's an announcement created by someone else, I want to know immediately. When I encourage you to have your students change announcement to notify immediately if it's not already there. If there's a submission comment, I have a daily summary. That way, at the end of the day, I get all of the submission comments students may have made, all of the assignments they may have turned in. If I am mentioned in a discussion, I want to be notified immediately so that I can respond to my student. But if there's a general topic or reply, then that's okay. I can be notified daily. Conversations, same thing. If somebody emails me via Canvas or adds me to an existing email, I want to know immediately so that I can respond. Otherwise, if it's created by me, I've got that off. So those are really the important things. There's a scheduling area for the calendar, if someone signs up for an appointment, etc. But you can go through here and take a peek and set your notifications as you wish. And finally, to get back to the dashboard, I can, of course, click dashboard, or I can click the SRJC icon. That will take you back to what defaults as the homepage, which is the dashboard. So that is a look at the Canvas dashboard and global navigation. Now let's jump into a Canvas course. I am going to go into a Canvas course and talk to you about the general landing area. So I'll go ahead and click on this sandbox here. It says Gina's Sandbox. And I have landed on my home page because that's what I have chosen as the landing area. So you can see here that there's Canvas Home, and then there's some other things which I'll go over. And I have chosen not only a home page, but you can see I have a couple announcements here. I'm going to show you how to do that. If I want something different for homepage, I can go over here and click Choose Home Page. So on the right, I click Choose Home Page, and you can see I've chosen Pages Front Page. And I have designated a specific page as my front page. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. But I have chosen one. I can change it if I like. Or I can choose maybe to have the homepage be the course modules. And if I do that, it's going to then repurpose the modules page and show you modules. Now my home page is my modules page. And for me, I've got my modules here in modules, so I don't need to have them be both. So I'll go ahead and go back to choose home page. Your other options are I can choose an assignments list. I can have the syllabus be my home page. I can do a course activity stream. I like a page because then I can say hi, welcome, and give them some guidance and a pathway rather than just having them drop in to a course. So you'll see I've got a couple of announcements here, so I'll get to that in a minute. But here's my course. Welcome to this. At the end of this course, you'll learn this. Here are the different modules. Please go through and check them out. So I can also put buttons here, such as click on this for the syllabus, etc., etc. You can also look, I can import from Commons right from here. I can import existing content that I have. I can create a new announcement from here. I can also publish and unpublish the full course here. And let me say something about publishing. There are 3 levels of publishing. I can publish the entire course, of course. And then when we get to modules and then content like pages, assignments, discussions, and quizzes, I can publish a page, assignment, or discussion or quiz. I can publish an item. But if it's inside a module that's not yet published, the students won't be able to see it. I have to publish the module. But just because I publish a module doesn't mean the course is published. So there are levels of publishing. And I mention that because it seems to be sometimes a confusion. Let me show you here the syllabus. The syllabus is a specific area in Canvas. Now, it acts like a page, but it's not a page. It's its own thing. So you'll treat it like a page when you create your syllabus, but do know that it's its own special area. So here's my syllabus, and I can edit that in a moment. I also have an announcements area where I can send announcements to students that always live in the announcements area, and I can have them appear or not appear on the home page, which I'll show you how to do momentarily. And you can see that several of these are unread, so they've got the little blue circle filled in. This is the modules area. So I have got my modules organized by weeks. So you can see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, etc. Some of these I don't have anything in yet for week 6. There's nothing inside here. So this is what an empty module looks like. If I go to week 1, you can see here is my module. It is published, but you can see that some things inside the module are published with the green check. Some are not yet published, and they have the no sign unfilled. I also want you to notice along the left here these little icons. This is a page icon. Right there, that's a discussion icon, the 2 chat bubbles. An assignment icon, it looks like a page, but there's a little pencil there, and that's a quiz right there, the little rocket ship. So those are the 4 icons of content you'd create inside Canvas. You can see here there's a little link, that's a hyperlink out to something else. You'll also notice this black rocket ship. That connotes a new quiz. Canvas has created a new quiz interface, and you can choose which interface you want to do. That's something to look at separately, but do know that that exists. So those icons are going to tell you and the students right away what type of content they're looking at before they even click in. Back over to the left, you again have the publish and unpublish options, and I can easily click on that to publish it or click on that to unpublish. I also have drop-down menus, and notice there's a module level drop-down and there's a item level drop-down. So let me show you the item level drop-downs first. When I click that, I can edit, and this just means edit the title of so I could look at that. I can edit the title, and I can decide to indent or not indent. So I might, for example, indent the readings, the discussion, etc. I can also move this up or down or to a different module. If I click move to, it asks me which module do I want it in and where do I want it inside that module. So you can move things easily that way. I can increase the indent, which means it'll go. And if I have it indented, I can also decrease the indent. I can duplicate it. Duplicate is really helpful. Like once I create an overview template that I really like, I can duplicate it and then I can create copies from it. So I like duplicate a lot. I can remove an item from the module. Now, let me be clear. I'm going to go over on the left, you can see this list here. Now, this is the global nav, the blue column. But every course is going to have its own course navigation as well, the course nav. And you can see that there are the modules here, but there are also assignments, quizzes, discussions, etc., pages, files. Anything you create, if you create an assignment, it's going to live in assignments. A quiz will live in quizzes, a discussion will live in discussions, a page will live in pages, etc., etc. It will be referenced inside the module. So if there's a page or a quiz or a discussion or an assignment I no longer want in my module and I want to remove it, I will be taking it out of the module, removing it, but I will not be deleting it. The only way to delete something is to go to its corresponding area and then deleting. I will show you that, but I just want to be clear. The modules is just where something is referenced. So you can add and remove, but you cannot delete. I can send something outside, so I can send a page, assignment, quiz, discussion, or full module to a colleague or to myself. I can copy it to somewhere, or I can share it to the Commons. So those are the options you have for the items. If I look at the module level area, you can see again, I can publish and unpublish the entire module. I can add a new item. So I click the plus sign. I can add an assignment, a quiz, a file, a page, a discussion. I can add a header, which I'll do in a moment. Or I can add an external URL or tool. So maybe there's a YouTube video I want to link to. If I choose new assignment, I can choose an assignment that already exists that I've created before, or I can create a whole new assignment. Now remember, even if I create it here, it lives in assignments. It will appear in the assignments area in the course nav, and it will be referenced here. So even if I create it here, it's going to live in assignments. So if I choose create, it's going to ask me to give it a name, to decide whether or not to indent, and then I would click add item, and then it would appear here. In addition to creating, I can click on the drop down, which is the 3 vertical dots, and I can edit the module name. In addition to editing the module name, I can actually lock a module. So if a course is published, but there's a module you're still working on a few weeks down the road, you can click lock and I can say unlock. Maybe the module isn't going to be until March, so I want to have it ready by February 17th. So I can unlock it on February 17th. You can also add requirements, such as students must complete all of the requirements in sequential order. You can add additional requirements, or you can not do that at all. You can uncheck that and go to add requirements. This can help you if you really want students to watch a lecture before they do the assignment, or to complete an entire module before they go to the next module. If you want to know more about that, talk to someone from Distance Ed and they can walk you through it. I also want to show you how helpful it can be to organize modules. So I mentioned text headers. I can click on the plus sign here, choose text header, and I can put, let's say, assignments. And I won't indent it. And let's do one more text header, and we'll call it items to read. And then I can click add, or I can put reading or whatever. So I can actually maybe drag this up to just above the reading, and I've indented the reading. And then maybe I want to put assignments just below that and and then increase the indent on all of the assignments below. And maybe I put this Canvas Studio up here as well under readings, increase that indent. So now I've got 2 items to read, and then I've got some assignments. Complete the survey, maybe the sign up for the New York Times. Maybe I put that up here, but that doesn't really fit with reading, items to read. So maybe I'll add another text header that's resources. Put that here. And notice what I'm doing is I'm dragging. So if I go to the left, there are 8 dots. And once I hover over those 8 dots, my cursor changes to a little cross. And then I can drag things up and down. So that is how I'm moving things. And you can use text headers to organize your course a little bit. So that's really helpful. Now, when you get a header, notice it is not published. I'm going to need to click publish to make sure it's published, publish. Now my headers are published, so that's helpful. So that's a quick overview of modules. I can also open and close each module by clicking on the little arrow at the left here. If I want to create a new module, I come to the top and click Create New Module, the big blue button on the top right. I can check my Commons favorites. Remember, I showed you earlier you can favorite. You can also take a look at things through the student view. If I click on Student View, a pink border will appear around your screen, and now you're in student view. And this is how a student would view the module. So you can see the items to read weren't published yet, so they don't see them yet. My resources are here, but anything that's not published, the students won't see. And then to leave student view, I go and click the bottom right. Let me talk a little bit more about what's in the course navigation. Grades for you is you can see all of the students' assignments and grades. And we have a whole gradebook workshop in Distance Ed that you can learn more about the gradebook. But for now, I can just introduce it to you that it's here. And you can find all of your students would be listed here. All of your assignments would be listed horizontally. And you can see now when I get into the gradebook, the course nav disappears. So if I go to the top right, these 3 lines, boom, I can get that menu back. If I click on people, that's going to show you a list of all the people in the course. If I had anybody enrolled in here, they would be listed. And again, you can create project groups if you want to put students into different groups. I click on groups. I can create multiple groups. I can choose plus group to create the group names, and then I would drag students in. If you want to know more about that, please go to the Distance Ed department. I mentioned earlier that when you create an assignment or quiz or a discussion or a page, that it will appear and live inside its designated area. So here's where all the assignments that I have created live. They live in this area. And if I actually wanted to delete something, I'd come to assignments, and then you can see there's delete. I can delete right there. It's the same drop-down menu, but with some slightly different options inside this page. And same thing, quizzes will live in quizzes. Discussions will live in discussions. Pages will live in Pages. And also I want you to note that when I click on Pages, it takes me to my front page. But I know I have more pages than that. Oh, I need to go to the top left and click View All Pages. And there they are. Those are all of my pages. Now do note that you can publish and unpublish a page right from here. And also I can find my front page. Right here, front page is designated the front page. What if I wanted a different front page? Well, let's say I wanted this filmmaker profile to be my front page. I come over here to my little drop-down menu, and I can just choose Use as Front Page. And if I did that, the front page would change. So I'll go ahead and change that back. Click Use as Front Page. And there we go, the front page changed. So that's how you choose a page. You do need to create a page before you can choose the front page. So if you have a new course and you're like, why can't I create a front page? Come to Pages, create a page, and then designate it as the front page by clicking here and saying Use as Front Page. I also want to show you settings. Now, earlier when we were talking about the dashboard, you saw that some courses had images. So here you see that I've got this image of a puppy. If I wanted to change the image, I come into the course, I go to Settings, and then I click on my little drop down. I can choose Image, upload a new image, and it would change. So that's how you get an image. Or you could just remove the image and have a color block on the dashboard. So it's up to you. But that is how you would do it. And you can see that the course name is always the same. The nickname would be what you've changed on the dashboard. I would stay away from these settings here, but I do want to scroll down and show you one important thing down here. This tiny little thing at the bottom that says More Options. Now, if I click on More Options, there are some things you can do. Do you remember when we clicked on the home page and I had a couple of announcements showing on my home page? And I'll show you that. Right there. These two announcements are appearing on my home page. Well, that's because I went into Settings and I said, Show recent announcements and please show 2 of them. Well, I can actually show as many as I want. Let's say I want to show just 1. Or I can say, no, I don't want to show announcements on my homepage, and you can uncheck it. So if I choose 1 and then click Update Course Details at the bottom, and then I go over here and click Refresh, you'll see that now there's only 1 announcement. So that's how you change that setting. You go into Settings, under the Course Details tab, More Options, and then you can decide what you want to do here. You can also do some other things. Do I want students to be able to attach files? Yeah, sure. And so I've checked that. Do I want them to be able to create discussion topics? No. So that's unchecked. But they can certainly edit or delete their own replies. That is fine with me. So these are some just fine settings that you might want to have access to. The only other area in settings that I think you should be aware of for your introduction to Canvas is the navigation tab. And please note on the navigation tab that anything that's up here will be visible to students. Anything that's below this little paragraph will not be visible to students. So the way I like to have things set up is obviously the home page, the syllabus next, then I like to have announcements modules, but I can move these. Like I can put modules before announcements. I can put grades before Zoom, or I can put people higher if I really want students to know about people. If I really want students to see the assignments listed in the assignments page area, I can drag that up and I can put that maybe right below modules. Now it's visible. I would have to click Save for you to see it. So now I've added something and I've made some changes. If I click Save, this will change. So I'll go ahead and click Save and see announcements is here. Our assignments, now assignments is here. And if you don't want to do that, you can go back to the navigation tab. I can drag assignments back down under the fold, click Save. So the last thing I want to show you in part 1 is this people area. Now I mentioned earlier that you can create project groups. So everyone's going to be listed in the Everyone tab. But the project groups tab, which by the way, you can rename. For example, I teach journalism. So I might go over here to the area and click Edit and change this to Beats. And once I click Save, the project groups tab will be changed to beats. And then I can create groups, like maybe there's a crime beat. Save. So to create a group, I go up here and I don't create a new group set yet. I create a new group. If I click group, I can do the education beat. There's usually a social justice beat that students like to join. And there's usually a sports beat. So now I've got 4 new groups by clicking that group button. I've quickly created 4 groups. And then once my students are populated in here, I can drag them in. And when I go down, you'll see the list of students in your area. I can also create a new group set. What if in addition to beats, I want students to work on features together? So I can click on new group set and I can say features, click on save. And look, I've got a third tab that's the features tab. And what if I want to do a feature on homelessness, a feature on the environment, a feature on student clubs, etc. So I just, I click on group set to get the tab, and then I click on plus group to create the groups. So those are some things you can do to set up your course in Canvas. In Canvas Basics Part 2, we will dive deeper into how to create the various content items.